Come on, you bitch. Welcome to IP Suffer.
What?
It's the only quote on
Singular.
IMDb.
Singular bitch. One ant.
It's from Police Chief Jeff Croy.
Oh. I
Uh,
was like, did I watch the wrong Killer Ant movie?
Played by the Shocker himself, Mitch Pileggi.
Hmm.
Isn't he on X-Files too?
Yeah. He's like one of those guys that I like recognize, but I couldn't think of like a single thing that he was in.
I'm probably it's probably just me and Kit that are like, yeah, the dude from Shocker, as opposed to,
Yeah.
hey, the dude from X-Files. This is episode 265 of IP Suffer. I'm Nathan, I guess.
I'm Kit.
And I'm Katie.
This week, we watched a bad movie that Kit picked
A bad movie that rocks.
called Marabunta, or Legion of Fire Ants, Killer Ants, or one of like 6 other titles from 1998.
Kingdom of the Ants.
Yeah, the 2B one was like a Kingdom of Ants
Yeah,
or
Yeah.
something.
it does the thing Sci-Fi Channel movies do, where like every region has a different title, and just streaming services just pick one of them. But this is, I don't think a Sci-Fi Channel production. Is 1998, so, but it is a made-for-TV movie, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This was fine. I got very bored for like the entire middle 50 minutes. But the ending, a lot of ants. Pretty good.
A lot of really shitty looking ants.
Oh my god, like all of the
And one
like,
real helicopter.
my absolute favorite scene in this entire movie is the like 5-minute montage of them like rafting. But they
Yeah.
go
Oh
down
my
like the same
God.
fucking like thing like every time.
The most
stunt
low
work
stakes fucking.
was-
Like there's blatantly like not the same people in that raft, because like
The
somebody's
stunt
wearing
work
a
was
very
literally
dark black wig for
phenomenal. I think it was a man
Like,
playing
yeah,
her, by the way.
100%.
It was it was so unexpected that I was delighted because it's, first of all, like this, I don't know why, but I assumed that this movie was going to have giant ants in it, and they're not giant ants. There's nothing weird about them.
I mean,
they're
for
like-
ants, they're pretty big.
They got a
But they're, like-
giant fucking house for such tiny ants.
That's what I was thinking. They are a normal species of ant. Like, they're not radioactive. Nothing weird. There's nothing weird about them except for that they happened to be in Alaska, and they come from South Africa, maybe, or South America.
South
I don't
America.
remember. So, like, that's strange. But global warming, so of course. But like, I don't know why I expected these to be like huge, like dog-sized ants, and they're just like, they are big. They're like quarter size, right? Although sometimes it's hard to tell because, like, sometimes they're, like, climbing up a window and they look normal, but then when they're on people, they're huge. I wasn't even trying to talk about that. But, like,
I think the problem is, like, half of it is actual, like, nature documentary footage, and then the other half is
Right.
just, like, shitty CGI ants from, like,
Yeah.
or,
50
like,
feet away. So it's just, like,
plastic
black
ants
dots.
from the dollar store, like, taped onto somebody.
Oh, yeah, when the dude's getting attacked in the helicopter, it's blatantly someone just threw, like, a bucket of plastic ants on him.
Yeah.
So good.
I like, overall found this movie to be very boring, but in the middle, instead of is like the rafting scene that goes on for so long, and I was like, this is incredible. Why is this happening?
I think the problem is, like, I think I wanted it to be more, like, arachnophobia.
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to, like, they take it so seriously, but also, like, they don't do enough. Like, it doesn't feel like there's enough stakes with the main characters, I guess. So it's just, like, it's that little, like, that brief period in, like, the late 90s where, like, like, if this movie was made now, it would be the most absurd fucking Sci-Fi Channel shit. on Earth. And this was like a point where they were making like, no, someone's gonna find this actually scary sort of thing. But mostly it's just kind of like following 3 or 4 people just being like, wow, these ants are pretty big. We should probably do something about this. Let's go whitewater rafting in a canoe.
Yeah, like, to me, I agree with you because I feel like the idea behind the ants existing is scary because they can just, like...
Well, they're also real.
Right. Because they can, as they put it in the movie, like, literally eat an entire human being in, like, 30 minutes down to the bone. I don't know if that's actually true. Okay?
Has to be.
I guess
this movie wouldn't lie.
I mean, like, I guess depending on how many ants there are, that's probably true.
Right.
Let's see.
Like, my problem with this movie is that, like, you can just run away from ants. Like, they can't walk that fast compared to you. So I guess I felt like the imminent danger was, like, not as scary to me. Like, just step on them, you know? Like, I get there's a lot.
Did you see how many there were? You gonna step on that many ants?
Well, yeah, and I have, and I will. Don't come to my house.
I'll do it again.
So, I think this is saying, like, just regular ants, 2 to 6 weeks to completely, like, down to bone an entire large animal. I gotta assume, like, these kind of ants would be, like, it's gotta be, like, at least a week. I don't think it's hours.
30 minutes. Clean out a whole man.
Because they eat a whole fucking moose in, like...
In, like, 2 hours.
The dudes are, like, following it for 2 hours.
Listen, I'm here for the science, okay? Alright. Kit, was this movie everything you remembered it being?
Oh, yeah. Which was the child in the bus.
Okay, yeah,
that was all I
fair.
remember it being. And also the guy at the start who just gets sucked into the giant ant.
Oh, man, I was so on board at, like, the little opening preamble thing with the lady getting sucked in, like, getting her picture taken. And then it was like, yeah, like, until, I think, the dude gets his flamethrower and then they get in the canoe and go whitewater rafting, I was so fucking bored.
Yeah, and then the end was, like pretty...
The Sci-Fi Channel movies do the same shit, though, where it's like, they'll do, like, a big sort of, like, kill at the beginning, and then there's just, like, here's 35 minutes of introducing all these characters you don't give a shit about. So, I can't really blame them. I feel like a lot of these movies do the same thing, but...
Sure.
I think the, like, just being, like, a 90s movie where they take it too seriously just made it like, no, we're gonna get the science in this somewhat correct, and blah, blah, blah. Like, alright, just show me some ants eating people.
Yeah.
Someone else fall down
science.
this fucking giant ant colony.
Yeah, get sucked into the ant hole.
Go into the ant colony. That's what I want.
That's why... Right.
They should have gone in, and there should have
them,
just been giant fucking human-sized tunnels.
Yeah. That's why I think I don't know
Copyright,
why
I Hope You Suffer. Let's make that movie.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I think I assumed, and especially, I don't know. I guess we established this was not a sci-fi movie, so I don't know why in my mind I was like, there's definitely going to be giant ants. And then you see the anthill, and it's like a fucking mountain, and I was like, all right, here we go.
I think
this is actually this is a Fox movie, like local TV station Fox.
Interesting.
I think I was pretty like I assumed it was going to be like actual ants, and like I said, like I think I was expecting it to be more like arachnophobia, where like, you know, John Goodman's character is just like in a place that's just fucking overrun with spiders and shit. Like I was expecting, I guess, more of that than just like these people out in the fucking wilderness dealing with a bunch of CGI ants on a log.
Yeah.
I needed more people to get picked to the bone and shit like that.
Yeah.
When they find the skull with the wig.
Oh,
pretty
perfect.
Good.
The fucking moose skeleton. I was like, hell yeah, this rocks. Like, these special
moose,
effects are fucking terrible, but awesome.
The moose was great, and then they showed the first person, and I was like, I don't know.
I mean, that kind of shit rules. It's just like I said, like there's that period that all these movies do where they're just like, here's a bunch of characters and their backstories and like why these people might fall in love type of shit. And I was just like, I don't give a fuck about any of this. Just like,
they didn't even like give us the romantic ending though.
I just needed like 15 minutes of these two fucking characters meeting up or whatever. You get quick backstory, maybe you're introduced to the cops, and then it's just like, go whitewater rafting for an hour and a half.
Right.
That's what this movie should have been. Giant ants all over the fucking coast or whatever. I can't think of the term.
Yeah.
And then just them trying to whitewater rapid fucking down the same hill fucking over and over and over again.
Okay, let's get to it so we can talk about it more. This movie starts off by talking about how technology. This is 1998.
I immediately was baffled because I was like, did Kit make us watch a documentary? I was like, maybe Kit doesn't remember that this movie was like not an actual movie.
It also doesn't really make any sense because like our main character is an entomologist, so any of this information could have been like, okay, so basically it's just like showing, you know, like crowds of people, and there's like a voiceover talking about how technology is expanding, the world is shrinking though, there's like so many people around, there's diseases expanding with the population increasing and like going on, and then they say killer insects aren't far behind, and I was like, say what?
It fucking rules so hard that immediately they're like, this could happen literally any day.
By the way,
what? The giant killer ants from South America could destroy us all any day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Literally. So then they're talking about like different kinds of deadly ants or whatever, and then he says, this isn't science fiction, it's science fact. And I was like, you fucking got me. So, and then it says something about like the following story could happen to you or something, and I was like, all right.
You're like, I gotta worry about alligators, I'm not scared of these ants.
Well, I mean, we got all kinds of creatures down here, right? And then I start thinking like, Fox really started trying to inundate people all the way back then with this killer ant stuff.
Oh, even well before this. If you look at like Fox's like regular programming before like The Simpsons and shit really took off for him, it was all like cops and fucking scare fucking like, oh god, I can't think of what that shit show was called. Like, it's not Access Hollywood. There was like one of those like really fucking grimy like Hollywood TV show, like news shows around that same time where it was just like all like gross shit. And
Perfect.
Fox was on that tip real early.
Yeah, always a piece of shit, I guess.
Except The
So
Simpsons, they got that right for like 10 years. Then they let it go for like 23 more.
I don't remember like watching anything on it except for like after school programming, so like Simpsons, Seinfeld, like whatever else was on. But like
cartoon.
Yeah. Okay, so this movie starts with a couple who is dirt biking through a beautiful mountainside. We find out that we're in Alaska. Looks beautiful, sounds terrible because it's like sunny, but also there's snow, but then also they say that it stays light until midnight or something, and I was like, that sounds really bad. I don't think I care for it. Also, they live by a semi-active volcano, and there's earthquakes. What?
It's fine.
I mean, I would take a volcano over these ants, to be honest.
Well, seems bad to me. I also didn't know that there were volcanoes in Alaska, if there actually are.
I would assume. I think a lot of places that have like a lot of mountains, maybe. This is where I show that I did not pay attention to any science in school.
Well, I feel like, I mean, let's see.
Yeah, there's volcanoes in Alaska.
Alright, even worse.
Maybe at least, it says 28 on Google.
Okay.
So I think Alaska's just volcanoes.
It sounds like it, actually. So they're riding their bikes around. They get off because they're like taking pictures for whatever reason. They see a huge, what to me is clearly an anthill. Granted, I know that I'm watching a movie about killer ants, so like but like it looks like an anthill, doesn't it? It looks like a big anthill.
It's clearly a big anthill.
See, where this fucked up and where Sci-Fi Channel would have made this better is for no reason these two would have been like 19 and in bikinis.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
In Alaska, in the fucking like dirt biking. I think
also, the ants have guns.
Yeah, oh man.
Or flamethrower heads.
Ants with guns would be a sick movie. I will watch that.
Yeah, like, my question to this is, like,
heads.
Kingdom of Ants makes sense to me. Legion of Fire killer ants? Like, where Legion of Fire? Why?
Well, I mean, fire? I think these are supposed to be...
Are Marabunta like just a type of fire ant? I don't
think anybody in the movie says that they're fire ants.
I mean, this movie it doesn't give a lot.
This
of
is a real documented case of ant killings. Okay.
They're army ants, not fire ants.
They're soldiers.
So it really makes no sense.
That's why I'm confused. Okay.
Jesus Christ, they're enormous.
Yeah, they need to make
a big dumb fucking head.
These things are upsetting to see.
I hate it. I want to punt it.
I'm gonna. You want to Marabunta it?
I'm
gonna look it
up. I prefer the fake ones thrown on the guy in the helicopter. Like the first question on Google is, are Marabunta ants real?
Okay, and the color of these is so disturbing. Ew. No.
Look at how big the fucking pincers are.
Yeah.
Hate it.
They also this like literally looks like something from like Bloodborne. It's like spindly little. This is very scary. If I saw this ant in person, I think I would be scared.
The biggest ants, the biggest species of ants in the world could be up to 1.5 inches long.
Fuck that.
Ew.
Hard pass.
The only ant that could possibly devour a human is the Siafu, the African driver ant. They are not as bad as they are in the movies, but they are known, or at least are rumored to have killed infants. We got baby killers. How to kill.
Fell beasts.
How to kill them. You just need one. Oh,
Guns.
It's to get rid of their water sources. Okay, easy. Okay.
They did the opposite in this film.
They literally did. The name army ant or legionary ant. Oh my god. There are far too many species of ants, if you ask me.
I mean, I would say that about any insect. There's too many.
Fair, but like...
They're going to take over. We're going to be living in a real Sci-Fi Channel movie in like 10 years.
It's science fact, okay?
Ants with guns is going to be real.
Just a matter of time.
It is. Okay, yeah, okay. So they see what is clearly a huge anthill, but they just think it's like a random pile of dirt.
What a weird pile of dirt in the middle of nowhere in Alaska. Right. Totally fine.
The guy's like, get on up there. Let me take your picture. And so she climbs up and she's like, I don't know about this. And he's just like, oh no, you're beautiful. Whatever. And then he runs out of film and is like, she's like, okay, let's go home. And he's like, no, I want to take one more roll. You don't need that many pictures of this woman, okay? You know what she looks like.
Of her just standing on an anthill with her arms at her hips.
One of my favorite things in movies is when people are portrayed as, like, photographers, and then they're like, oh, yeah, perfect shot. And I, in my mind, imagine what that picture actually looks like, and it's literally like an upshot of her with the sun directly behind her head.
Nah,
He's not getting shit.
You know this guy, it's like the entire thing is just a picture of his fucking finger.
Probably that, too. So he's like, I'm going to go get another roll. Just stay there. And so she does it.
And then gets quicksand.
Listen. So then he goes back to his dirt bike and he goes to get the film. And then she starts screaming, like off camera or whatever. And he runs back and she is sinking into the top of the anthill. My other question is, like, when you climbed up the hill, did you not notice there was just a huge fucking hole in the middle of it?
Or,
Right?
like, it has to be covered in ants. Ants aren't just, like, in the hole. Like, usually if you find, like, an ant colony, they're, like,
Right,
running
there
all
was
over the
no
place.
ants to be seen at this anthill.
Also,
what's the point of the anthill?
When I saw this hill, I was like, fuck yeah, we're gonna get real big ants. And it,
That's what I'm telling you. That's why I thought they were going to be, like, giant ants. I mean, like, they are big in terms of ants, but they are not, like...
There's just a lot of them.
Yeah.
like,
So,
I respect the, like, not going that route, because, like, it's sort of that thing about, like, zombies, where it's like, people are like, well, fast zombies or slow zombies, and it's like, slow zombies are, like, more, I guess in my mind, more threatening, because there's always, like, more of them. So it's like, you get, like, this giant horde of slow zombies, and you're like, fucked. But, like, it's the same way where it's like, you got these, like, small ants, but there's so many of them that, like, you're fucked.
Yeah, and I mean, like, again, this is not a sci-fi movie, so, like, there does not need to actually be a reason for giant ants. It's just, like, a normal situation.
There should have been one giant ant for no reason.
I
The queen.
agree.
They should have fought the queen.
Yeah.
The queen should have been, like, the size of a chihuahua
They
or
just
something
do,
for
they
no
just
reason.
do the end of Aliens in this movie, but in, like, all, like, Alaska's wilderness.
They should have. Okay. So she is sinking into the anthill and screaming, and she's like, help, help, help. And he climbs up the anthill. And again, this anthill is huge. It's, like, almost as tall as the trees. So he, like, climbs it and is, like, trying to grab her or whatever, and he just gets fucking sucked right on down there, too. See ya. This is where we meet our main character, whose name is Dr. Conrad. He, again, is a entomologist, which is somebody that studies bugs. Gross. And, there's, like, all of this, like, I don't know, whatever set up. But essentially what's happening is that he is flying to Alaska to meet his friend to go fishing. There's also, there's a volcano there that you can see in the distance.
That's where they fish.
Right. And so, like, they're flying in the helicopter, and he's, like, talking to his friend, and his friend is just like, oh, yeah, it's great here. We're by this volcano, but it's not active. Also, it doesn't get dark until midnight. And I'm like, great place to take a vacation, I guess. He's just there for the salmon fishing. So they go fishing, and they don't really catch anything. And he's like, that's weird. I was just here last week, and I caught 1,000 fish. And so then they go to leave, and they see these, like, huge moose antlers sticking out from behind a log, which, like, then they're like, he's sleeping. And I was like, seems sus. Maybe leave him alone. So they walk around, and it turns out that it's, like, literally, like, a carcass, just, like, bones with, like, some meat on it and the antlers. And they're like, well, that's weird. Like, why would somebody leave this moose out here for, like, the predators to eat or whatever? And then these hunters come running up, and they're just like, there's our moose. And they're like, okay, like, why would you just leave it out here or whatever? And they were just like, we weren't gone more than 2 hours. And they're like, that's fucking weird, right? And you can see they're, like, they're from Alaska. They weren't talking like that, obviously, but...
Yeah, that's how people in Alaska talk.
That's a hunter in my mind, you know? You can see their arrow, like, in the moose or whatever.
I know most hunters say tweren't.
Definitely. Mountain men. And so they're, like, baffled. They're like, that's really strange. And Conrad is, like, concerned about it a little bit, but, you know, whatever. He's on vacation. So they helicopter to this place called the Trading Post. And they find that it's not open yet. There's a very, very cute dog named Blue that's just running around. And Conrad's friend is like, since there's no really anybody on there's, like, nobody credited on Letterboxd.
Yeah, there's only, like, 5 people in the cast on Letterboxd.
Let's call it
ants.
Pretty close.
Literally.
Like,
and only 3 of them have, like, names from the movie. Jeremy Foley, I assume, was the child. Wow, he was in Soccer Dog.
He played all the ants.
Yeah. He was the voices of all the ants. Let's call Conrad's friend Buzzard, because I don't remember his name. So Buzzard is like, that's really weird. The trading post should be open by now. So they go inside and find that it's like a little messed up or whatever, and they find blood. They're like looking around, and they stumble upon something in the corner that's like covered in a fur, and they move it aside, and it is literally a skeleton with a wig and clothes on. It's like a long Jacob Black style wig. And they're
amazing.
They're like, okay, strange.
Relatively unfazed by this.
Yeah, it doesn't
like,
seem
all right.
that concerned at this point. And so they call the cops. And so like one of the main characters here is Police Chief Croy, who I called Sheriff.
Stupid name.
And so Sheriff comes along with like one of the other Blount maybe was his name, I don't know, another cop, and they come and they're like looking around and they're like, well, that's really weird. Everyone just thinks everything's weird, right? They're just like not really that alarmed at this point. You know, weird stuff happens in Alaska.
I'll say that's how you be in Alaska. Everything's weird.
Yeah. So Conrad like sees something on the skeleton that he picks off, and the sheriff is like, well, don't touch him, the coroner's coming. And he's just like, okay, I'm a scientist, but whatever, fine. And then they hear someone else come in, and it's one of the other main characters, Laura, who is Julia Campbell, who has been in all kinds of stuff. She was in Stephen King's Rose Red. She's in the Twilight Zone, old Indiana Jones stuff. Like she's Romeo. She's like a real person. Like obviously she is. She's in stuff. And so she comes in and she's basically just like, well, where's Trent? He was supposed to give me fish to dissect. Gross. And the sheriff is just like, oh, well, he's dead. And she's like, okay, I guess the fish aren't that important then. So she gets introduced to Conrad, and of course she like knows who he is from him having written this book that she thinks is amazing or whatever, and they hit it off. They like flirt a little bit. This goes almost nowhere. Like they flirt back and forth a little bit, like very mundanely. I mean, and they don't even really like end up together.
Every fucking like, I feel like sort of plot thing that doesn't deal with the ants that they set up goes nowhere.
Yes, I agree. So they go to the police station, and this is where they meet Grey Wolf, who was Trent, the man who they just found dead, is there. And they had called him to say, like, your brother's passed away. And so he's like, I want to see his body. And, like, this was, like, so bizarre to me because he's like, I want to see my brother's body. And they're like, okay, sure, come on in. And then they're just like, I don't really know how to prepare you for this. How about saying, like, by the way, it's not really a body anymore, it's just a skeleton? Because I don't think anything could prepare you to find out that your brother, who has literally just been found murdered, to see his body and he's just a skeleton. Ants. With his hair and his clothes on, right? Like, there's no way. Like, to me, that would be more shocking than seeing like a beaten up, meaty. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I would think it's a prank, right? Like, if you just saw a skeleton wearing its clothes with a wig on, like, right. Why are you pranking me, random sheriff in this town?
Right, and so, like, the fact that he's just like, all right, well, here you go, and he pulls the thing back, and Grey Wolf is just like, oh. And I was like, sir!
It's like lackluster.
Yeah, just like, well, it is what it is, I guess. Then there's, like, this very weird scene where they're in, like, where the office part of the station, and there's, like, a female cop who opens, a cabinet, and she's like, ah! And they're like, what? And she's like, ants! And then Conrad's like, don't touch him! And he starts to, like, walk forward, and then she's just like, oh, they're just ants. I'm gonna put them outside. And then this other guy comes over and just, like, sprays sanitizer on them, and Conrad, like, all of a sudden doesn't care anymore. He's just like, it's like almost as if they meant to, like, cut that part out, because then they show Conrad again, and he's just, like, leaning against a filing cabinet, and I was like, oh, sure.
What's done is done. He's not worried about it.
Then
he's not worried about any of this.
No, not at all. Then there's an earthquake. Cash. They're just having like earthquake tremors the entire movie. And
I don't remember earthquakes being this at all.
Yeah. So there's an earthquake, and then they're just like, well, that was weird. This is confusing to me because the whole reason that Conrad is in Alaska is because he is on vacation visiting his friend Buzzard. But he asked the police chief if he knows of a place that he could stay while he's there. And I was like, what was your plan? You were just flying up to Alaska for no reason? Like, that seems weird. He's from LA, by the way. They like make a point many times to talk about how he's a city guy. The big city, this, that, and the city, you know, from LA. So, like, very weird to me. And so the sheriff was like, yeah, sure. I have this cabin you can stay at. And for some reason, it is right next to where Laura lives. So he goes and drops him off, and him and Laura kind of like make eyes or whatever. And then Laura invites him over for dinner. We find out for whatever reason that she is a expert gun shooter. Cool. Then she asks Conrad like what he think happened to Trent, you know, the skeleton. And Conrad is just like, I don't know because the ground is cold.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure. And so Laura's like, okay, I want to show you something. So she takes him to the school where maybe I missed it. We find out she's a teacher. And so like they go to the school chemistry lab or whatever. And so she is like, basically she says a bunch of science stuff. But what she's saying is that she is studying geothermal activity from the volcano, from like the earthquake volcanic tremors that are coming out from the volcano. And she's saying like essentially what they're finding is that the tremors from the volcano are causing the ground underneath to heat up. So it's warm under there. It's like tropical under there. Which to me is a lot more alarming than like the ants. But, you know, nobody seems to care about that. And then they pan underneath the school and we see ants. A lot of ants. Anting around.
Anting around is a good term.
Yeah, just anting around. Another, like, weird detail that literally doesn't have anything to do with the story is that we find out that the sheriff's wife had died and now he's taking care of his son by himself. And also he doesn't know how to cook. Great.
I mean, that's the kind of information I want to know, is that he can't cook. I don't care that he's sad.
I don't understand people who burn toast. Toasters have settings.
Yeah, but I don't think
not burn.
Yeah, I don't think most people know what those settings are because it's a fucking number as opposed to like saying like a, you know, crispiness level. And you know, people, especially in America, we don't fucking read instructions.
I guess. I just
plug
like,
that shit in, put some bread in, you got toast. That's all you need.
Yeah, I just don't understand people who don't know how to cook. Okay. Laura's a teacher.
Throw some steaks in there.
Not even kidding. Air fryers are really life changing. Like,
oh my God. Getting just French fries in like 8 minutes.
Anything you want. Anything that you would put in the oven that would take an hour, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's literally incredible and life changing. You cannot live without one. If you don't have one, I can't wait
till we find out in like 10 years that it's just been giving everyone cancer this whole time.
Everything it does. So who cares at this point? If you are listening to this right now, stop what you're doing, get in the car. Well, you don't have to get in the car. You can order it online. Also, just go buy one. It's so good.
I thought you were going to say this amazing. Podcast is causing people cancer, and I was like, "Where's this going?"
Very confused.
That's true. Also, we are sponsored by Air Fryer now. Air Fryer TM.
Yeah, just the concept of air fryer.
Big air fry.
The air fryer, yeah, literally.
This has been a long game. Get everybody to buy air fryers because we make $20 every sale of an air fryer.
We are secretly millionaires. You don't even know.
God, I fucking wish.
How about the movie with the giant our movie with giant ants and flamethrower heads? Is that an air fryer short-circuited and caused them
What if we just have to put all of the ants in an air fryer? We have to build a giant air fryer out of the volcano.
Let's do it. Out of the volcano. Harness the power of the volcano to build a huge air fryer to fry all the ants.
All the ants.
I like it. I think it would work, honestly. Okay. Laura is a teacher, and she is teaching her students about ants.
That's convenient.
Weird coincidence. And she is talking about how there are 12 to 15,000 species of ants. Again, seems like too much. We don't need that many. She is also talking about how the concept of soldier ants, where every 15 years they come above ground and go on a killing spree. Yeah, maybe I don't think actually Laura is saying this. I think Laura is a teacher is separate from the ant stuff. I think it's probably Conrad again. But it doesn't matter. We're learning about ants. We're seeing pictures of ants, a bunch of different ants. There's like a picture of ants from like Cuba of 1956 or something weird like that. There's like black and white stuff. I don't know. Stuff's going on. This is where they say that the ants could strip a man in 30 minutes. And he says that the thing he pulled off of Trent's skeleton was a piece of ant body. So then the police get another call to do a wellness check, and they're walking around a woman's house calling for her. They can't find her. She probably got eaten, though, because they look out the window and they see that the ants are carrying away her body parts underground, which is confusing to me because, like, do they strip the whole body or do they take pieces of the body back? Like, those are two different kinds of things, you know?
They're making a tiny little throne out of her fingers.
They might be. I think I saw an ear, possibly. So, that could be like a little bed. That could be like a little fort for them in there. So, the sheriff's son and his friend Scott, probably. A normal name for a child.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the sheriff's son is Chad. And later I wrote a bunch of Chad and Dad, and I was like, I don't like it. But
it's my new Mumford and Son style band, Chad and Dad.
Chad and Dad. Perfect. So the sheriff's son, Chad, and his friend Scott probably ride their bikes out to where the abandoned dirt bike from the beginning of the movie is, and they see the anthill, and they climb it. Woohoo! Yippee! Just like little children do. And Scott immediately gets pulled in. He's gone. Meanwhile, the sheriff is about to call the National Guard to say that they need help because the ants are eating people. Could you imagine making that call as like a police chief? Like, we need help because ants have killed 2 people that we know of.
It would have been
Please
better
help.
if the ants were just eating cops. Ant cab.
I was trying to think of a good ant cab, yeah. This is when he is picking up the phone to call the National Guard, but then another earthquake hits and knocks out the phone lines. So now they are stranded in their town, and they can't call for help. Chad comes in and tells them about Scott. The other police officer, sheriff, deputy guy was Scott's brother. So he's like, oh my God, we gotta go. So they go out to the anthill. But obviously it's too late. It's been like who knows how long. And they're just like, well, it's too late. Sorry, like he's gone. And they start walking away, and then the deputy turns around and shoots the anthill with a gun a few times.
That's how you do it.
Let's see, what is this word? So then they pull out a map and they triangulate where all of the deaths have occurred to figure out like that the ants are like swarming in a specific pattern to get food or whatever, and they realize that the town is the next area that the ants are going to come. So this is when Conrad decides that he needs to start trying to figure out like where these ants came from because they are not native to Alaska. He happens to see a small carved boat on one of the desks that Chad maybe has made, or somebody made it. And he's just like, this is made from acacia wood. Where did that come from? And they're like, oh, yeah, it washed ashore from a freighter. Oh, actually, come to think of it, I think it came from South America 10 years ago. Okay.
Was that the explanation as to how these ants got there?
Yeah, they were living inside the wood that fell off the freighter. And then he's like, yeah, the freighter was going from South America to Japan, and there was a storm, and it washed ashore here. Seems suspicious. Basically he says, like, okay, well, now that we know where it came from, all we need to do is find the queen wherever she's hiding amongst the logs and kill her. Easy peasy. Because then no one's telling them to kill people anymore.
Maybe just take that flamethrower and just put it in the hole of that giant anthill and just let loose.
I don't think they returned to the anthill.
I know.
After that. Like, what?
It should have just been just the anthill and just a weird rapids thing for 20 minutes in the middle for no reason. They're just I'm bored of this. Let's go whitewater rafting.
Pretty much. We're almost there. So they can't fly out. They tried to send somebody to fly out in a helicopter to, like, get the National Guard's help, but they can't because, I don't know, the earthquake caused damage or something. I'm not really sure. But so they basically just decide that Conrad and Laura are going to go to the beach where the acacia wood, came up on the shore to look for the queen. Meanwhile, the sheriff and everybody else is going to evacuate the town. Then there's like a 10-minute montage of people evacuating the town. Didn't seem necessary, but okay. Laura and Conrad go to the beach. This is where they're just looking at a bunch of logs. This was so gross. So Conrad just like sticks his whole fist into a log and comes out with like a bunch of ant eggs and larvae. Disgusting. He's like, here we go. Somebody had helicoptered them out there, and so like as they're looking around the beach and like looking at the logs to try and find like the queen ant or whatever, the helicopter is getting swarmed with ants, and like the pilot doesn't notice at first, and then he finally sees the ants, and like he freaks out. Instead of like getting out of the helicopter, he flies into the air and he's like, like screaming and like moving the joystick around and stuff. And then they watch as he
safe.
They watch as he very slowly crashes into a mountain.
Very slowly and very realistically.
Yeah, so real. This is where I wrote the fake ants are huge. So like, I don't know. There's just like some discrepancy about the ant sizes, I feel.
I think they just send out what the sizes they need. The ants do. It's like, hey, a helicopter. We should probably send the big guys out.
Yeah, helicopters are pretty big. So first of all, Conrad and Laura are like watching. Oh, by the way, the pilot was Buzzard. His friend that he came to visit for the fishing, and I feel like they really downplayed that. They made it seem Buzzard to me like they didn't really know who he was. Like he was just some like random pilot guy. Like why wasn't he helping them? Why was he chilling? Whatever. So Conrad and Laura are like watching this happen, watching him fly into the mountain, and this is when the ants from the logs start swarming like the beach, coming towards them. This is where I wrote, like, why didn't they just run? But instead, they decide to stand there while Conrad tries to flamethrower the ants, and Laura is trying to, like, shotgun them. Sure. Seems effective. This goes on for a little while. I forgot this was, like, a made-for-TV movie because this is the only instance I remember where, like, the scene fades to black and then fades back in and they're doing the same thing that they were doing before. And I was like, what?
And
then I was
amazing.
like, oh.
There's definitely a couple moments that, like, I think the first time there's, like, a fade to black, I was like, and it comes back to, like, something that's, like, sort of familiar. I was like, wait, was this made for TV? Because this is weird. Like, it was, like, every 15 minutes or something they would do that shit.
I think, like, maybe I didn't notice before because they were at least, like, switching scenes, but this was, like, literally in the middle of the same scene. And I was like, huh? Oh, yeah, commercial for air fryers, definitely. So then, like, they're just, like, trying to... There's, like, swarms and swarms, like, a blanket of ants coming from both sides now, and they're just, like, standing in the middle trying to, like, shoot and flamethrower them. And, Laura sees a canoe in the distance, and they end up getting to it, and... I wrote, they escape the ants, but then have to whitewater raft for some reason. The stunt
the
double
only
work
escape
here is incredible. So they get in a canoe, right? And my immediate thought too was like, why don't they just go in the water? Because I'm assuming the ants can't swim. But instead of just like wading out into the water, yeah, they get in a canoe and they start going down. And Conrad says something like, I don't know, asks about the river or something. And she's like, nah, it should be totally fine and normal. Like, NBD. Cut to all of a sudden, they're literally, like, falling over, like, they are whitewater rafting in a wooden canoe, right? They're, like, flipping all over the place. Eventually, the canoe hits, like, a rock face and shatters, and they fall out and, like, slow-mo tumble around the rocks in the water for, like, 15 minutes. And it's, like, every time they show, like, a small waterfall, they're like, oh! And they, like, flop down, and then they show another one, and it's, like, very deliberate that they're, like, pushing their bodies over the rock to, like, go down or whatever, but it goes on for so long. And it's like we said, very obvious that these are stunt doubles and completely different people. And I was, like, entranced. Like, I could not believe this was happening in the middle of this ant
movie.
Scene
in the movie.
It was incredible. Eventually, so this happens forever, right? Eventually, there's, like, a huge branch sticking over the water, and Conrad grabs it and then is able to, like, save Laura. And he's like, how you doing? Or, like, you doing okay? Or something, like, and she's like, well, there's killer ants on the beach and a waterfall behind us, so, like, sure, I'm totally cool. No probs. Okay, so then one of the deputies is, like, going around making people evacuate, right? He goes to, this farm where there's this old guy that's, like, not wanting to leave his farm. He wants to, like, stand and fight or whatever, and he has dug holes and, like, poured gasoline into the ground all around his farm. And he's like, I'm not leaving. They go into, like, the barn, and they find that his cow is being eaten by the ants, and so he, like, sloshes a bunch of gasoline on it. Then the cop, like, somehow turns a piece of farm equipment on or something, and it, like, hits a wall and then barricades them inside the barn with the ants. And then, like, the cop, like, just immediately climbs up the ladder, but there's, like, the guy is, like, really old, and he just, like, falls down, and the cop just, like, watches as the ants eat him in like, moments. It's not 30 minutes. It's, like, the guy
30
lays
seconds.
down, and he's like, oh, no! And then the cop is like, ooh! And then you look back down, and he's, like, a skeleton with hair. And I was like, okay.
Amazing.
Great.
There's got to be one ant that eats hair in there.
Nah.
Yeah, there's just, like, one ant that's, like, his entire thing.
He's like,
gnawing through the hair.
He's like
so
the
long.
vegan version of an ant, where he just doesn't
right.
want the meat, he just wants the hair.
He's full from the first one, though, because that guy had long hair.
So much.
So,
You think that, like, that ant would have to eat all the hair off the moose before they could, like, the other ants could go for the meat?
That's why he wasn't there yet.
Yeah, he was full from the day before. So Yeah, the ants that eat the old man immediately start climbing the ladder. Because, they can just climb. I don't really know what the cop was thinking. He was safe from the ants. And he
they just climb whatever. Like, come on, man. Have you never seen an ant before? They climb your legs.
Anything. They can climb anything. So he starts seeing the ants climb up the ladder, and he's like, "Oh no!" And he starts like freaking out. Eventually, he ends up just jumping out of the barn and like hurting his leg. And this happens right as the sheriff arrives to like rescue him or whatever. Then so Conrad and Laura are, after whitewater rafting, taking a break to whitewater raft. They find a lodge where they try to like. The other thing that was so tiring about this movie is that they did a bunch of like, not fake outs, but they like made Conrad seem so bumbling. Like everything he tried to do took forever, and it would like he like can't get the thing started. He's got to pour the gas in. He's pouring gas everywhere, and then it's like cutting back and forth between like the ants coming, but it's the entire movie. And I was like, listen, I know he's not gonna get eaten by ants. Like, just move on.
Look, his name's Conrad. We know he's dumb.
What's his first name?
I hope everybody listens to this podcast named Conrad.
Every Conrad's only.
Only Rads.
Yeah.
Oh, his name is Jim Conrad. Dumb.
Terrible name.
So they gas it up. It's like a tiny little scooter, like gas-powered scooter thing, and the ants are coming at them, but they ride away. It's like a clown scooter with these two people on it. It's very funny. They ride to the police station and tell Chad that he needs to call his dad and tell the sheriff, his dad, to meet them at the school. Chad radios his dad, and then we see that like the deputy police guy that he saved like runs around the truck and then immediately falls into a huge fucking ant hole. I don't know how he didn't see that there. But he falls down into it trying to get into the truck, and the sheriff is like, "Don't use your gun, there's gas everywhere." He immediately starts firing.
What? Use my gun?
What'd you say? Use my gun? Pew pew! Immediately, and there's like explosions everywhere. As the sheriff is like doing donuts around all of these fucking explosions. But you know what? At least some of the ants got killed, probably. Like he helped, I guess. In the science lab, Conrad whips up some stinky juice to ward off the ants. This is where I saw a discrepancy. So they like make a huge point to show the outside of the school where the team of the school is called the Volcanoes. And when they're running through the school, there's a banner that says "Go Tigers." And I was like, what the fuck?
Why?
I just think I love when they like miss small details, like they're in a school where the mascot is the Tigers, which was my mascot when I was in high school too.
Lame.
What were you?
The Thunderbolts, a thing that does not exist.
I was gonna say that's more of like a element, but okay. Well,
what was your high school mascot?
Mustang.
Oh, very
Which
cool.
is real and normal and kind of boring. Cool, man, you're a horse.
Mustang
that fucks a lot.
The only
Mustang
cool thing
is like a cool word though. Like horse is a horse, but Mustang, like he's that kind of is cool.
It's a dang horse.
The only cool thing is that like they like my school would like rename all of these previously existing things with like the T-bolts or some shit. So like we had like the T-bolt sandwich, which was literally just like a pizza sandwich.
Perfect.
And shit like that. So like,
what was the mascot? A literal like lightning bolt, thunder? Like what's going on here?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it was just like a single like yellow lightning bolt.
Okay. Well, because like I don't know.
It might have been.
It could have been like a weird humanoid like mascot, but with like holding a thunderbolt or something.
Like, memories of it just being like an N with a yellow lightning bolt because it was Northmont.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked it up. That's at least what it is now. So I'm assuming that's what it was then.
Mine was like legit just a tiger, right? The tigers. It got very confusing though because so like I went to school in like the country and we were like surrounded by farms. Yes. And so there was like cows everywhere, right? And so everybody would jokingly call our school Cow Pie High because right, there's cow pies everywhere. So then like when I got into actual high school, because it was like a middle school high school thing or whatever, they started like making stuffed themed cows, and I was like, okay, but we're not the cows, we're the tigers. So like they made our like yearbook like cow themed, and I was like, that seems very confusing. Yeah, like I don't know. It's strange. Not like you're finding tigers in like the countryside of Virginia, but like I just thought that was a very strange. Okay. Why did that happen? Oh, okay. So, Conrad makes the stinky juice thing to ward off the ants. Meanwhile, outside, Chad and the sheriff have shown up, and they're on the top of his truck, surrounded by ants immediately. And the sheriff is using a fire extinguisher at them to try and get them away. And then they're like, no, I don't know that. And for some reason, the sheriff tells just Chad by himself to run and get on a school bus. So he does. But, like, this is another thing that bothered me about this movie is that, like, listen, I know that ants can, like, squeeze into small spaces. Well, but these ants are kind of big, right? He gets on the school bus and, like, leaves a whole window open. And I was like, the ants could just come in through the window. I don't really know what you were thinking. So Chad gets on the school bus, and the ants start coming up the school bus and, like, surrounding it. He's, like, screaming, Dad, help me. Conrad is spraying the juice.
Yeah, he is.
Stinky juice. Spraying that stinky juice. And it's, like, not really working. So they end up having, Laura and Conrad end up having to, like, run up through the school, and they're, like, looking out a window, and Conrad yells at the sheriff. He's like, we need help, like, pull up to the window. And so it made me laugh really hard. So the sheriff is like, okay. So he just, like, gets in the truck, and he backs up to the window. And Conrad's plan is that they're going to take the rope from the flagpole and just, like, swing over to the bed of the truck. Great. And so the sheriff is, like, in the cab of his truck, like, waiting for them to Georgia the jungle down. But there's ants in the truck because, again, they just left the windows open the whole time that they were, like, gassing the ants or whatever. And so Conrad and Laura swing, and right as they're about to land in the bed of the truck, ants start coming, like, up on the sheriff's legs, and so he, like, slams on the gas and just, like, speeds away, trying to, like, stomp the ants, and Conrad and Laura just, like, fall on the ground. And
heroic.
And it's, like, so funny because the sheriff in the distance is just, like, fucking whipping around and, like, and, like, it's fucking stupid. All these people are very dumb. Okay, so they land on the ground. The ants are coming. They're like, oh, no. They hear Chad screaming for help in the bus. So they go over there, and I kind of didn't really pay attention to what happened, but, like, they end up getting Chad out the window, and he's fine. The sheriff finally drives back over. He comes swerving over and, like, almost slams right into him, and Chad's like, Dad! Like, screaming like an idiot. And then they just, like, get in the truck and drive away all fucking crazy. Okay. So, I don't remember this being, again, I could have missed this. I don't remember anybody talking about this, but essentially I guess what they decide to do is blow up the pass, which is, like, the only road between, like, the town and, like, the outside world or whatever. So after they evacuate it, they're gonna, like, blow it up for a question mark reason, because ants can just like crawl over dirt. So again, I don't really know what the point of that was.
That makes sense to me.
They're gonna do it anyways. So the sheriff and everybody is like speeding down this like dirt road to like get through the pass. Grey Wolf is and some random dude are just like standing there like waiting for them because they're gonna blow the pass after they, you know, drive through it or whatever. And then they're just like, oops, because somebody detonates it early and it explodes. The sheriff and everybody like hears it. And they're just like, welp, that's that. So they pull out a map and are trying to like figure out a different plan. And so Conrad is like looking at the map and he's like, okay, I have a plan. What we're going to do is go to this new dam that they've been building in a town that has created jobs and like made this town prosper, and we're going to blow it up. And they're like, all right, seems fine. Basically they're going to blow up the dam so that the water floods the valley and hopefully kills the ants. But they need dynamite, which they don't have. So now there's this scene where Conrad is going to like rappel down a fucking ravine into the Grand Canyon or something and go to Grey Wolf's construction trailer and get some dynamite. So he does that. He's sitting in the trailer fixing up dynamite, as one does, and the ants start storming the trailer. Again, he left the door to the trailer wide open, so the ants are just coming right on in. And they start coming up on his leg. He's freaking out. He's like, you know, scrambling around trying to get the fucking ants off his pants. And then Laura appears with the stinky spray juice and like saves his life essentially. Then they do this like whole fucking thing again where like she climbs back up the mountain. He's trying to climb up the mountain because the ants are coming, but like the winch is stuck and then the car won't start and like all this shit. But he's totally fine. The ants never got it close to him. Like, he's fine. So he's got the dynamite. They go back to the dam and they dig holes in the slope on the other side of the dam that they're going to put the dynamite in. Okay? Then a helicopter comes. And I think it's the cop who was supposed to call the National Guard earlier, but it's fine. Chad immediately runs up and gets in the helicopter. And so essentially what happens is that like Laura digs her hole, puts her dynamite in, lights it, throws a fucking shovel halfway down the mountain to the they didn't have more than one shovel on a construction site, throws the shovel down to the sheriff, who then digs his hole, puts the dynamite in, throws the shovel down to Conrad. And then like Laura and the sheriff run up the mountain, get in the helicopter, and Conrad can't get his matches to light. Oh geez. He gets a lighter, he like lights the dynamite, and then he's trying to run up the hill. I don't know how you didn't realize there was earthquakes in this movie, because there's like so many scenes with earthquakes.
I did not pay enough attention once they got past the Whitewater Rapids thing.
So like he lights his dynamite, he's running up the hill, and then an earthquake happens, which causes him to fall down the mountain, and the helicopter has to take off because it could like damage the helicopter, I guess. I don't really know anything about helicopters, but the helicopter's like hovering around, and they're like, hurry, the ants are coming, and like I don't really know they show off in the distance ants swarming, and I'm not really sure like where the ants are going at this point. Into town, maybe? Nobody's there. Who cares? I don't know. So the helicopter's like hovering around the ground, and Conrad is like jumping up and grabbing onto like the little feet rail thingy, and he's like just like dangling there as the dynamite start exploding, and then there's a really terrible CG dam explosion scene where real. The water. So
they blew up a dam for this movie.
This made me laugh because it was like the CG explosion on the dam, and then when they showed the waters flooding in, they showed like like a waterfall, like a regular waterfall. Like you could very clearly see that it was like rocks, like a rock bed, and I was like, very cool. So the water floods the town, and we see the water flooding the valley and the town or whatever, CG water. Conrad, the sheriff ends up like getting out of the helicopter and helping Conrad in, so everybody's fine. And they're talking about like, oh yeah, we did it. Like, is it over? And Conrad is just like, I don't know. There could be survivor ants, and they probably went back into the ground for another 15 years. So who's to say? And I was like, okay.
Yeah, who's to say?
Great. I mean, fair. I guess who's like the idea that they could kill every single ant is ridiculous. At the same time, I just feel like there's like not really any closure because they destroyed a new dam and destroyed the town, and they're just like, I don't know, maybe it worked. Guess we'll find out in 15 years. So they land the helicopter, and they're all just like, yeah, we did such a good job. And Laura, and they're just like, oh, what happens now? And Laura's just like, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait till the water recedes, and we can like go back into the town and like see the damage and everything. And Conrad is just like, well, that could take forever. And then he's just like, I don't know, I guess I'll just stay here and keep studying, I guess. And then she goes, is there anyone that's going to miss you in LA? And he goes, no one human. And then they just walk away. And I was like, okay. Then it shows the water, like the lake, and it zooms in on a rock. And there's like all of these ants crick-be crawling everywhere, like, and then we see the huge queen ant, and she goes, and then it's the end.
Oh shit! Sequel coming.
Dun, dun.
27
She
years
pulls
later or whatever.
a knife out of her pocket, and she grins at the camera.
No, she has a
it's
gun.
time. We're due.
She pulls a flamethrower out of her dress.
Marabunta 2.
The queen.
Ants with guns.
It's gotta happen.
Legion of Fire ants with guns.
Yeah. So.
Sci-fi. What the fuck are you doing? Not getting the rights to this? Like.
I mean, really.
Just fucking up left or right.
Do they even make movies anymore? I don't know what Sci-Fi Channel does anymore.
I don't know about that.
Pretty sure they still do. I just don't think they're good. Like, I feel like I don't see. No, not Share. I was looking on Letterboxd to see if I could sort. Let's see. The epidemic in 2023. A group of people find themselves trapped in states from zombies. Yeah, I mean, like, it seems like maybe the pandemic stopped them for a minute, because there was nothing from 2021 until this year. Like, it was Slumber Party Massacre seems to be the last thing they did, and then now there's some fucking movie called The Epidemic that's like, this is actually at least produced by Sci-Fi. I don't know about, like, if they, like, acquire stuff or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Arctic Apocalypse. I'm in. There's some, I don't know. This list doesn't seem fully like the full thing, so because I'm assuming this list doesn't have all the stuff that maybe they required, because it's only showing like 9 movies since Santa Jaws, which can't be real.
I really doubt it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Sci-Fi was just like, we've done the best work we can.
Weird, yeah.
Any news?
I don't really see anything.
Yeah, I think the only thing I saw, there was one story that I saw that I was going to bring up. What was it? 'Cause I feel like everything's just kind of like bullshit from Comic-Con, but it's all
yeah.
There is a Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong comic book coming out that I'm fucking very stoked for. Oh, I think they fucking apparently Saw X is coming out in September this year.
Ew.
They showed a picture of, they're like, we released a picture of Tobin Bell, and it just looks like Tobin Bell. And it's apparently going to take place between Saw 1 and 2. And if they don't do like they did in the 1 where they made him young by just putting a baseball cap on him backwards, then Like, the whole movie better just be him wearing a backwards baseball cap. That movie's gonna be a fucking shit show. Like, there's no way. Like, the fact that they, like, were just, like, killed him off in 3, and they're like, well, maybe we just go back in time and retell a story that we didn't. It's bad.
I did see, I don't remember how to say his name. The guy who played Polka Dot Man, David
Dismulchin.
Yeah. I saw that he's supposed to be in a new horror movie that I didn't really read the details about, but I was like, oh, I'm down. I'll watch him in anything.
Oh, is it the one that's like him as like a talk show host or something?
Maybe. I literally just saw like the poster of it. So I was like,
he's got a movie coming out called like Late Night with the Devil or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Where he plays a talk show host that like I'm guessing the devil shows up on his talk show or something that I've been hearing people talk about for a while. Like, I think it like premiered or was like getting shopped around in like 2022 maybe. And I keep hearing it's good, but I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully someone has picked it up and we'll release it this year. Alright. Katie, what'd you watch this week?
Oh, nothing. Did I even watch anything? We did start a new show that is by Greg Garcia, who is like the guy behind My Name is Earl and Raising Hope, called Sprung. Raising Hope is like one of my favorite shows, and it stars Martha Plimpleton and Garrett Dillahunt, and they're both in Sprung also. Them together, like, give me everything. I love it. And it's basically about people who are in jail and then they're released for nonviolent crimes. They're released from prison during the pandemic because of like overcrowding or whatever, and they just have to kind of like figure out what to do. And it's like funny because we're not done with it, so I don't have like an overall impression, but I thought so far the jokes are pretty funny. And you find out that like Garrett Dillahunt's like has been in prison since 1996 or something for like selling weed. So he's been in prison for like almost 30 years for selling weed like as a teenager or something. So he's like, he's like, you know, just like his innocent, like goofy kind of like self or whatever. And so like Martha Plimpleton is like his cellmate's mom. And so she comes to like pick him up, and then the cellmate is like, oh, you can come and like live with me. And then Martha is just like, well, if you guys are going to stay here, you have to like earn your keep. We're going to do crimes. We're going to be a crime family. And it's like pretty funny so far. It's on Amazon Prime if anybody wants to watch it. But
what about you, Kit?
For some reason, I watched the second Transformers movie.
That's random.
So fucking awful. Oh my god.
I haven't seen any of those, and I assume they're all bad.
I don't remember the first one, but I was like, I want something fucking stupid, and I really got it. I was not expecting robot balls and racist robots. Like,
I think that's the
horrible,
only thing
stereotypical caricatures
I've ever heard about any of those movies is that one of them had like a racist robot in it.
Oh man, it was so much worse than I thought it was going to be. Jesus Christ. And then I went and saw Oppenheimer today, and it was really good. No racist robots or giant robot balls in it.
I like the discourse where people were like, I can't believe they're not focusing on the women in this movie, and I'm just like, come on.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to fucking calm down.
Right?
I also realized last night, apparently James Woods is like one of the executive producers of that movie somehow.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was looking at something, and it was like, executive producer James Woods, and I was like, excuse me?
They just, like, sneak him in there, but they don't announce it anymore. They're like, no, it's okay.
I'm still in the middle of watching all of the DC animated stuff, so most of it's just been rewatches this week. I watched Gen 13 for the first time, which was like a DC Image comic book that they made like a pilot for, that's supposed to be like a quote-unquote like for adults cartoon where they're like cursing and stuff. And it's pretty bad, except Mark Hamill plays the bad guy, so he's killing it. And then Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers is the voice of like a dumb surfer character in it, and he is also killing it. That might be it. Caitlin and I rewatched. Caitlin watched Shang-Chi for the first time last night. That's pretty much it. Everything else has been pretty much just DC Comics cartoon rewatches.
Jim Lee just shared the variant cover he did for Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, and it's so cool.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I hope does well enough that I would love to see like an animated version somehow.
It would be perfect. Like, there's no way they can't. Come on.
Mostly this week I've been like reading comics. I finished all of the Flaming Carrot omnibus, and now I started reading iZombie.
I might read that also. I love the show. I know you said it's really different, but
yeah, it's pretty good so far. Like I've only maybe like 8 issues in, but it's very different. Like the only thing that seems to be relatively the same is that like when she eats brains, she can see like their memories or whatever for a brief period.
Yeah,
which is a good idea.
Really cool. I liked the way that they did it in the show too, where she made like they would show her like making actual dishes. Like she didn't just eat brains; she would make like
and
a taco. Or
in the comics, she's just like a gravedigger. So when anytime she like buries somebody, she'll like unbury them afterwards at night, and like which I feel like they take your brain out during autopsies and shit. Like I don't know if they replace it or not. So
I mean, I think it depends, but yeah,
they're really fucking up. Also, one of the characters is a were terrier, so, which is fucking incredible. All right, shout outs, Katie.
Oh no, how does this happen to me every week?
Same.
Nothing's good. We hate everything.
Yeah, nothing's air fryers. Shout out air fryers.
Oh, that is a good one.
Thing in our universe.
Agreed. What about you, Kit?
Damn. Katie even gave me time to think of something, and I didn't.
Yeah, I got a negative shout out. Twitter.
You were. Oh my god. Yeah. I don't know. Let me X you.
Is it? Yeah, fucking Christ. That whatever's going on with Twitter /X.
It's fucking
negative shout out.
Absolutely. It's so stupid. I also like
the dumbest fucking website in existence.
Absolutely no way someone doesn't already have the copyright of like the X or whatever the fuck he's calling it. Like I believe I saw someone, which I don't know if this is true or not, says that like Meta has the copyright or trademark to that, so
I think it was Microsoft.
Who knows? Like
Microsoft
you'd be fucking
has some.
There's got to be like
A24 does.
Yeah, like I'm so confused about what's going on with that idea, but
oh yeah, so this person, like as you see one where someone's saying Microsoft owns it. God, I hope he gets sued into oblivion.
I hope so too.
Not that it doesn't seem like it's ever gonna matter.
I know that this is probably fake, but somebody posted a picture of Mountain Dew dogs.
Oh yeah, that's fake. So like, I think since 4th of July, people have been posting that same picture, but like different things. There was one that was like candy corn ones that were like orange, white, and black or whatever. I forget. What color candy corn.
I don't know. There's absolutely somebody who has like marinated hot dogs in Mountain Dew. So this seems like a thing that would happen.
Dr. Pepper hot dogs is where it's at.
I'm sure that would be fine. I didn't see this anywhere to confirm, but my friend told me this morning that they're bringing back the original recipe for Tropical Sprite Remix, which if true That's my shout out because that was like my absolute favorite soda when I was in high school, and I need it.
That sounds familiar, and I know I've probably tried it. I just don't remember.
Well, they like it was like a thing in like the early 2000s, and then it went away, and then they brought it back, but like it wasn't the same. But then it's supposed to be like the original now. So if true, be excited.
Yeah, I don't know. Getting a negative shout out to Sharon that Twitter's the worst, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Katie, do you have a movie you want to do next week?
I was kind of, I don't know. I was thinking of something very stupid, an early 2000s movie that's called Blood and Chocolate. Then I was thinking, oh, it's like a werewolf movie. Is it too much werewolf stuff? I don't know. And then I was like, do we want to do a sci-fi movie since it's been a while? What do you think? I don't know.
I don't care. Just pick whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, same.
Because I got something real stupid lined up that is not a Sci-Fi Channel movie. Well, it's got Kevin Nash in it, so you know it sucks.
Oh, no.
Oh,
He does not have a good record outside of, I think, Magic Mike.
Yeah. And The Punisher.
Oh, was he in The Punisher?
Yeah.
He is in Detroiters as Tim Robinson's dad. Who is
That's pretty good.
Who has escaped from an asylum. He's pretty good in it. He was also in Adam Sandler's The Longest Yard. Alright, so what'd you pick, Katie?
I don't know.
You should pick Eric Bischoff, Sports Entertainment's most controversial figure.
Definitely. And then I actually saw this movie that what was it called? That I thought sounded very goofy, but then I think it ended up being a Wes Craven movie, and I was like, I don't know. Night Shift or Night Wish or something like that.
I have no idea.
No, it's not Night Shift. It's definitely Night Wish.
Oh.
It says, a professor and 4 graduate students journey to a crumbling mansion to investigate paranormal activity and must battle ghosts, aliens, and satanic entities.
That's got to be a Wes Craven produced.
Yeah.
Wes Craven
presents or whatever.
So on Tubi, it just says Wes Craven, but here it says Bruce Cook.
Yeah, that checks out.
All right, let's do that. Let's do Night Wish. I feel Blood and Chocolate would be too cringy.
One word or 2 words?
It's one word.
Oh,
and
okay,
it is on Tubi. Yeah. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know.
Arrow, too.
All right. The idea that they're fighting ghosts and aliens, I need to see the aliens.
I feel like I've seen this cover art.
I wasn't sure if maybe you guys might have. Somebody is credited as Slug Girl #1 and #2, so maybe it's gonna be great. I don't know.
I mean, everyone I follow that has seen it, it's at least 2.5 stars, so that's a good sign.
All right, let's do it. Or Imaginarium from 2012.
Now let's do this.
Okay. Yeah, so this Night Wish, it is on Tubi.
I'm gonna watch Night Wish from Wishes to Eternity live instead.
Sounds awful.
Oh, Night Wish, yeah. Probably great.
Alright. If you'd like to support us, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/IBSufferPodcast. Sometime in the next week or 2, we'll probably have an episode on the Twilight movies. Katie and I are going to record an episode on Deadpool and Deadpool 2, which I feel like Katie's going to hate.
I'm not sure.
We'll see. You can buy merch at our storefront to your shop. You can leave us a rating and review on Spotify and iTunes. Tell us if you would like to live in a giant ant colony. Seems bad, but maybe better than being a person. Who knows?
Yeah, hard to say.
I don't ever get to be like a human bridge like ants get to do, so... you can follow us on Instagram at IBSufferPodcast. Follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery and Kitrification of Blood. Follow Katie at WerewolfFace, and you can join Katie's Patreon at patreon.com/WerewolfFace. You can listen to my other podcast, 8K Movie Club. Kit, you following this Jason Aldean or whatever his fucking name is?
Oh my god. Fucking
I know you don't listen to
dumbass.
his type of country, but
I saw he had to stop his concert because he collapsed due to heat exhaustion, and it's like, he could have just died.
yeah,
He could have saved us all the hassle and just died.
I love these fucking like dipshit like modern country artists that like grew up in like some fucking fancy ass neighborhood. They're just like writing about small towns that they've never been to or lived in.
Right.
Extremely good. Katie, you got a take on this?
Yeah, bad. He's bad.
All right. I hope you X but X.
Double X.
Yeah. Triple X starring Vin Diesel.
Oh, there
Or
you
is that
go.
That's the Ice Cube movie.
Take it all away.
Yeah. I mean, there was a whole thing about like how he wants to call like videos on their X videos, which is already a porn site, so
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like there's a love. It's gonna get tricky.
he's so stupid because like I guess like when he was part of PayPal, he wanted to change the name to the X
Oh, I
and
saw
all this
that,
shit,
yeah.
and I got fucking booted from PayPal for this.
They're like, please leave, sir.
Good businessman. Somebody
Very
should
good. Very
throw
smart.
him into a giant anthill. Let him pick
Please.
him clean in 30 minutes.
Somebody move the ant log in front of his house.
Yeah, just put it in the Twitter office. Alright, goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.